Oh, yeah. What's up, bro?
Oh, big time. I go to the red light.
If it was so, you know what's a lot of parts and pieces that, you don't think have to happen.
Right.
Like, like the Matrix, you just can't, you know what I'm saying? And some of our,
Well, I don't know if you did anything, but I got movement this week on all the trees that need to be cut to stop
So they all on the street today.
You don't get penalized, but obviously, yes, if you'll be more absent if you're not there.
And then they print your name in the paper every year.
They're gonna print your name either way. They ain't got nothing to do with that. No, it's both. It's both. They give a percentage of both. But it doesn't matter. It's good.
I was trying to go 100%. I don't think go board ones that they do decision hot committee.
You can vote. But you gotta like it. You gotta live.
No, it's the joint one. That's Tuesday. I can't make it. And they pay a week before.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yes, ma'am.
And you tell him the same thing.
Yeah, everybody's gonna be doing that. Can I have everybody turn our cell phones so that way we have them mute? We are not using them.
what's up, Guru?
That's Dr. Lucas. Dr. Lucas.
After this,
School demonstration. 7 o'clock. Yes, sir. On the green, sure. On the left hand side.
On the left hand side, which school looking which way? I mean, is this one there or this one?
Yes, that's the left hand side.
This one. I'm on.
is that your bag? Oh, your necklace. I love it.
Yes, my daughter got me that 2 years ago.
I love it.
I'm a bag lady.
Me too.
Like this.
Make sure Olga Rodriguez got her phone on.
And I want to apologize ahead of time for not telling you all to dress like Alder Rodriguez today. I didn't know they were going to be dressed this way. Otherwise, we would all dressed the same.
Don't forget 6 foot Sarah.
Don't you worry about it. We got time.
Special pattern.
Listen, I am the gal that we're going to show that.
I set it up.
I said you got my dress. Now I'm making sure I get some sneakers. I already know that. Yeah, we should.
Okay.
Are we recording yet?
We are now.
Let me go.
So I can stop you. Get you stopped before we get started.
Good evening. This meeting will be called to order. Meeting agenda, community development, September 18th, 2024, 6 p.m. at the Board of Alders Chamber. Meeting can be viewed on Board of Alders YouTube. Board of Alders New Haven notice. The Community Development Committee will meet in person at 6 p.m. on Wednesday, September 18th, 2024, in the Board of Alders Chambers located at 165 Church Street, New Haven, second floor, to hear and act upon the following. LM 2024-0519, order of the Board of Alders of the City of New Haven approving the execution and delivery of a proposed development and land disposition agreement between the City of New Haven and RCT 770 Land LLC, providing for the conveyance of reuse parcel A in the River Street Municipal Development Project area, being known as 112 Chapel Street, in accordance therewith, and resolution authorizing the acceptance of additional grant funds from the Connecticut Department of Economic and Community Development for the remediation of said reuse parcel A. LM 2024-0540, order of the New Haven Board of Alders approving the discontinuation of a portion of Peck Alley between Maltby Street and Downing Street to the extent that there has been either formal or implied acceptance of the alley, and said discontinuance is to allow any abutting landlord to assert any claims that they may lawfully have to the ownership of the alley. These items are on file and available for public inspection in the Office of Legislative Services, 165 Church Street, New Haven, per order Honorable Carmen Rodriguez, Chair attests Honorable Michael Smart, City Clerk. If you need an accessibility-related accommodation, please contact 203-946-7651 voice or 203-946-8582 TTY. In accordance with the City of New Haven COVID-19 guidelines, masks are now optional. Public may send comments to public testimony at newhavenct.gov. At this time, from my right, if our committee members can introduce themselves, I am Carmen Rodriguez, Alder, Ward 6.
Frank Redenti, Alder, Ward 15, Fairhaven.
Kimberly Edwards, Ward 19.
Brian Wingate, 129 Beaver Hills.
Frank Douglas, John White, Ward 2.
Courtney Mabry Black, Ward 20.
Thank you. I'm going to ask that at this time the presenters, the first presenters of the item, the proposed development and land disposition, as you approach the desk, if we can get your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Helen Rosenberg, 212 West Elm Street, New Haven.
Joe Minsky, 166 Chapel Street, New Haven.
Carlos Izaguirre, 244 McKinley Ave, New Haven.
Before we go on, can we pull those microphones real quick?
Should I go ahead?
Thank you.
So these are draft drawings of the darker color. That's the property that we're asking permission to sell to Arch Frames. And the lighter, smaller box, that is their adjacent property where they are proposing to build a 20,000 square foot warehouse. It's a little older, so that shows a 10,000 square foot warehouse, but they're growing so fast that they actually going to need more space, but it'll all fit on that site. So Arch Frames moved to New Haven from Brooklyn in 2020?
2019.
And began operations during COVID. Employ about 100 people, and at the corner of Blatchley and Chapel, that old Acme Chemical Monroe Solar property, and going on to River Street. They have an address of 115 River Street, but it's also 166 Chapel Street. They run a great operation. They've been active business participants in the community down there, and they employ mostly, majority are neighborhood residents, many of whom can walk to work. So we've been sitting on, since the River Street Municipal Development Project Plan was approved by the board in 2002, and we bought that property on 112 Chapel Street, I think it was that year. There have been a few proposals for it, nothing terribly exciting, and none have actually moved on to the build. We have done a complete environmental assessment and a remedial action plan. We have gotten money from the state to do the cleanup. So, and we have a little part of the order is to accept additional money from the state for the cleanup. So we have all the pieces in place, and Arthur Frames is drafting their plans for the new warehouse, which is a project that the state requires in order for them to give us money to clean up our property that we're going to sell to them. And our property will serve as a parking lot for the business and for the adjacent expansion. It really is not suitable to be built on. It requires pilings, and the soil is not like stable, and there's pockets of things that need to be covered up. So this is the ideal use for it, especially in association with an expansion. So any questions about the LBA? We have worked with Winter on sustainability provisions. Other than that, it's pretty standard OBA language. The price, $100,000, was obtained through an appraisal done by Amodio Associates, who have been doing appraisals of property in River Street MGP for 23 years. So, and it's all Kathy Amodio, so he's very reliable and knowledgeable. Questions?
Any questions?
Thank you, Madam Chair. When is this project supposed to be started and completed?
So we have to wait to get a cleanup plan, it's called sub-implementing plan, approved through the PCBs on the site, approved by EPA. And once that's done, then I think we can go to site plan review beforehand, once their plans are done. But I think it's likely, their plans are likely to be done like, what, in the spring or early winter, maybe winter. And this standard, the self-implementing plan was submitted by our environmental consultant to EPA in April. So it can take several months, I think just because they have so much work to do there. So we're talking 5 months. So I'd say once that's done, with site plan approval, we'd be ready to go. Say early spring. We break ground early spring on both sites. 2025.
So have the plans for the parking lot been changed, or is it remain the same?
The plans for the parking lot are pretty well set. It's and the building layout, it's twice the size. It's not a complicated layout. They just need to finish doing the site plan so we can go to the city plan and get that approved. So they might, depending on how quickly you're working, could be done before we get our response from EPA. But once those two things are done, there's nothing keeping us from moving ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you.
For the record?
Thank you for your presentation. Thank you for your employment of New Haven residents that I heard over the last couple of years. Do you look to expand?
Yes, this is going to help us free up space in our existing warehouse now, which we use for inventory and storage. This new warehouse will allow us to move all of that there and to create more manufacturing jobs, machinery, and now. So basically, all the inventory will be moved to the new warehouse.
Thank you so much.
We'll create about 20 to 25 jobs.
Thank you.
No question.
Anyone else with questions?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair. Are there any city match requirements?
No, there's no match requirements. I mean, before we got the grant commitment, we put money over the years into doing an investigation of the property, which is required to know how much to ask for from the state. But as far as that state grant goes, there's no match required.
Thank you. Any other voters, any questions? Go ahead, Alder.
How much involvement has the alder in that area been?
Well, the owner, reached out, well, Kubo, yeah,
Kubo has a lot of urge.
yeah, it was Kubo. Yeah, and, I'm blanking on,
Cresco?
yeah, I've reached out to Crystal a few times, but I've never gotten a response. So, not casting any aspersions, but I have tried, and Kubo, we've had a lot of conversations about River Street in general, but I know she wasn't, available more recently.
Okay. Thank you so much for that information. So just for the record, you did make attempts to reach out to the owner of that area. Okay, thank you. Okay, any other questions? Okay, thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, and I should mention that the City Plan Commission hasn't issued a report yet. They are meeting tonight, it's not on the agenda, so it will be on their agenda for
Next week, probably have special meetings. Hopefully
well, a special meeting would be nice because,
there's a special meeting.
yes, please.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes.
So there will be a special meeting of, the City Plan Commission next week. So my hope, I haven't seen I have to double check the agenda, so my hope is that we can add it to the agenda then. And, we'll make sure you guys have it before
Next week will be before the
first reading. Yeah, we'll make sure you have, the City Plan report for second reading at the latest.
Thank you. We get to know sometime.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm interested in this.
Can I have the next presenter?
Before you that order, do you want to see if there's any testimony on that item before you go next?
What's that?
Hang on, let's see if there's any testimony on River Street.
Well, I did have a comment on that, so.
Is there anyone from the public wishing to speak on the item that was just before us?
There is briefly.
Come on up.
I think we can speak.
Thank you. I would need your name and address for the record, please.
Emery Cunningham is my name, 300 College Street. I'm kind of just an interested community member. I guess I was invited by board member Keon Flores, and we're just interested to know about the rationale and desire for a new parking lot. And I guess I'm wondering about kind of the city's plans for kind of public transportation balanced with cars, and what the vision or strategy is for integrating those two modes of transportation.
So I can take this again? Yeah.
Name and address for the record, please.
Hi, Carlos Ezagiri, 244 McKinley Avenue. So I can answer some of those questions. So understand, and I think that's a fair question to ask, why we're selling this land for another parking lot, for more parking. And I think what maybe didn't come through is this business was opened in 2020 during the heart of the pandemic, when it was about 50 employees. It's now grown to 125 employees. It'll grow. It's at 100 employees now, so I think based on what Mr. Yossi just said, it'll grow to 125. This will allow them to build a new warehouse and add a significant amount of employment. So I do think, and I think that, you know, Ms. Rosenberg, who just spoke, is really a resident expert on brownfield remediation for the city. So she's been spending a lot of her last 30 years of her career specifically on this River Street area. River Street is also in the Alders, will attest to this, but she mentioned in the beginning, is a municipal development plan area, which is specific state designation. So there's about, what is that? I don't want to say it's double-digit acres, River Street MDP, that's encompassed in this municipal development plan area. So originally it envisioned a lot of strictly industrial commercial uses. I do think, to your point about parking lots, are thinking on it has started to evolve. You know, the need for housing, even the need for housing, obviously, in affordable housing has become paramount. It's one of the legislative priorities of this Board of Alders, and in turn the city staff as well. So I think we have started to sort of reimagine what we could do on River Street besides just these traditional industrial uses. So I think that you will be hearing a lot more in the coming months, and we've already been talking about it with the $5 million for Mill River area, which is adjacent to River Street. We started already that conversation with the committee on how we're going to spend that, and a lot of that talk is about housing, public space, green space. So I do think, on the whole, I think that, you know, it's really balancing both job-producing uses, which are still very important to the city, with public, you know, with clean public space, open space, and also even housing. I should add that this is a very complicated area to do housing. So traditionally, because it's on the waterfront, because Ms. Rosenberg mentioned you need to put pilings in the ground, which is you know, makes it very expensive. So there hasn't always been that kind of interest. But I do think, so I think on the whole, looking at the fact that this land was heavily contaminated with heavy industrial uses, of which this is not a contaminant. This is a light industrial use, so it's a much cleaner use both for the people working there and for the community. There's no real pollution from light assembly of frames and creating and building frames, picture frames. So yeah, I kind of lost your question on the public transport. Is a little. I mean, I can give you a little more specifics. I can try to answer that, but that's not direct. That's not so much related to what we're trying to.
Yeah, I just just thinking about adding a parking lot is, you know, a new thing that's adding value. I looked at and thought, well, if this is the goal, what's its balance with the goal of public transportation? If this parking lot is like saying, we want cars to be able to park here, where does that kind of? It's a more general question. How much do you currently also want to encourage public transportation?
Yeah, and then I don't think this should not, they're not, and I do always want to answer this.
So, Mr. Segura, just to be clear, my apologies, just to be clear, this parcel will also line with the chapel in the Fairhaven area.
Right.
So one of the things, I don't know if you're familiar with the Fairhaven corridor, Chapel Street, there is a city bus that goes from the end of Chapel all the way to downtown New Haven. So it utilizes public transportation. For those folks who do not drive in the Fairhaven area, that area there does have bus stops along the way. Was that one of your concerns, that we were going to lose that public?
Not exactly. It's I think my question might not be pertinent to the exact.
But it's a great question.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. And we just want to make sure, you know, that it's answered.
So I'm not the alder for this board, but I'm a Fairhavener and a Fairhaven alder, and we are actively encouraging more bike stations in Fairhaven as well. Steve Winter's constantly through Fairhaven pushing the e-bike program and stuff like that. So if you know anything about Fairhaven, we're very green. We're becoming a very green neighborhood. You know, a lot of support for efficient modes of transport. Just a couple of things that I wanted to say. I don't have any direct business with Arts to Frames, but he his business comes very highly recommended with my residents in my ward, as well as a number of my colleagues that do business with him. He's been active in that community since 2019 in a number of community activities. That end of Chapel Street, as you know, was constantly a blight year after year after year, and that business has brought new life to that neighborhood. To hear that the PCBs are going to be cleaned up, that this is, there's a Steve has done the sustainability study, makes me confident. Anything Steve has his hands on makes me confident. It's just the benefit, not only the jobs that are going to Fairhaven residents mostly, it's just a perfect match for that end of Blatchley Avenue, which has always been like an industrial hub of Fairhaven. It's got one of the only working waterfronts in the state. I don't think a lot of people knew that. I didn't know that prior to becoming the alder, but I met the guys at Patriot, and they actually have a working waterfront there. We don't have another one for quite a time. So that's another push over there. Is it's a lot of marine business too. Residential would really fit over there, and those guys they got to have somewhere to park. But I would like to see if there's any plan to put maybe charging stations.
Yeah, I think I believe that there is some pretty standard language based on sustainability language that Ms. Rosemary mentioned that we worked on with the help of former Alder Winter, who is now the sustainability coordinator for the city, by the way. And so, yes, I think there's some standard language on EV charging stations, bioswales for water runoff, and I think that when we can talk more offline, there's a larger plan to connect the waterfront promenade, a walking promenade. That's a big priority for the alders and the mayor to make sure that the waterfront and whatever we develop down there stays open to the public, to pedestrians, to other forms of non-vehicle uses. So I think I do. I mean, we think about this stuff too. I think it's a balancing act, but I do think we don't want to lose. Even though we're envisioning these more, maybe a radical use like residential, which Alder Redenti was eloquently explained sort of what's going on there. But maybe that's something that we could figure out in the coming years. But we do want to balance that with job-bearing uses. And again, we toured this back. The Development Commission, which is a city commission that's appointed by the Board of Alders and approved by the mayor. We visited them before bringing this to the Board of Alders. We visited them in July. We had a site visit of the factory. It's very clean. It's a really clean, non-polluting type of place to work for the employees. So, as industrial work goes, this is a really modern sort of a modern facility where there's not a lot of burden on the employees working there for their health, considering the traditional uses.
Just to add one other point is, we're working, the Fairhaven Alders all work together, call ourselves Team Fairhaven. And one of the things we're pushing is Fairhaven is walkable. We're working on certain quality of life issues to make it more walkable. But we want to encourage people to, a lot of our residents in Fairhaven wards work right here in Fairhaven, myself included. We encourage people to use alternate modes of transport.
All right. Can I ask any more questions?
Is it germane to the topic?
Yes.
Okay.
I think it was 20 to 25 more jobs that would be added. Do you know how permanent those are?
These are permanent jobs. Permanent jobs, pay a living wage, and like I said, they've grown from 50 to about 125.
Thank you. Alderman Quinn?
No, I'm all set.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great question.
Thank you, Mr. Segura. Our next presenter?
Russian statement.
Well, I guess there's some. I can.
Name and address for the record for the presenter. Thank you.
Frank Redenti Jr., Alder Ward 15, 401 Poplar Street, Fairhaven, New Haven.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, thank you for allowing me to present tonight on behalf of LCI to talk about the Peck Alley abandonment. Just a little context, Peck Alley has already been long abandoned. I want to say 20 plus years. It's overgrown. It's a liability to the city. It's currently blighted and neglected. It really serves no municipal purpose. Recent real estate developments on Downing Street have proved beneficial to the neighborhood. Been a hit with the neighbors. Adjacent property owners have the ability to possess and maintain this property in the future. If you flip to the first page, you'll see a map showing you the portion of Peck Alley that's under consideration for abandonment. I have walked this property numerous times and met with the neighbors. There's only 2 properties on Lombard that would have been affected had they had rear parking in their on their lot, but they don't. They both have front parking, and those 2 property owners will have the ability to bid on that land, as I'm made to understand, from what you read in the beginning. The corner lot that is right next to 85 Lombard. There's a bunch of vehicles that sit on it. Those vehicles don't belong on that property. That property will be cleared. There is a development that is planned for there. Carlos, I don't know the exact number of units in that planned development. Which one? The Downing Street. So there's 2 existing structures here, and the developer is planning something here, but I don't have plans for that.
I'm not that familiar with that.
Well, as we move through the PowerPoint, you can see right under the Google Earth view the sign of Peck Alley and the overgrowth. It's a constant problem. I get resident complaints about it all the time. As you flip through the PowerPoint, you can see there's just more photos of what it looks like from the street. And actually there's some photos inside from the interior of the property of the overgrowth. Again, if you flip through Peck Alley, there's an aerial view. Madam Chair, Alder Douglas, Mr. Vice Chair, we looked through it prior to the meeting, so I know now that you know where exactly it is. So the goals for this are just mainly to reduce the blight in the neighborhood, beautify the area, and allow the property owners to expand their yards. But I think the most pertinent point to get across is that it reduces the municipal liability and exposure for the city. Right now, there sits a old abandoned laundromat. There are pipes sticking out of the ground, broken infrastructure from the building, as well as trash and broken bottles, and I can only assume needles. PD is constantly running people out of there. I mean, it generally just looks bad, you know, and the whole goal that I had going into this, my tenure here, was to try to find ways to increase the housing in Ward 15. And seeing that there's already a development there, and that the developer already owns a piece of property there, it only serves beneficial to Ward 15 and its neighbors. Anything to add?
No, I think. Hi, Carlos Isaguirre, 244 McKinley Ave. I have some experience with discontinuing streets in New Haven, and I think what Alderman says is correct. The other thing that is nice is that the adjacent property owners, by state law, have a right to the abandoned property. So you're not, so they have the right.
Right. Also to add, Fairhaven is very unique. If you drive through Fairhaven, you'll see we have a lot of little alleyways connecting our side streets. A lot of them haven't been used for decades, and if they are being used, they're not being used for legal purposes, or they are, there's trash strewn everywhere, tires, car parts. Some of them aren't wide enough to get a plow down anymore because of overgrown trees that have just been left there. So I think this is a move in the right direction to start looking at some of these alleyways that are no longer of use, and to look for ways to give homeowners driveway access and possible more land for their yards. So thank you for this time and this opportunity to present to you tonight.
Thank you. Are there any Alder Edwards?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just have one general question. The neighbors that are adjacent to this area, how do they feel about this proposal?
So there's really only 2 that will be affected. The rest of the neighborhood is looking to get rid of that blight. I mean, everybody in the neighborhood is looking to, but the two neighbors that are going to be directly affected by it are going to have an opportunity to expand their land. So who would be, excited about that? I've had absolutely zero pushback.
Okay, so they're in agreement with this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's my only question. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Rende.
Thank you for your presentation. When you started the presentation, you said, when we have an LCI.
Yes, sir. So I can read into the record. Thank you for reminding me. I do have the original letter that was sent to me to read into the record. Appreciate you for that. So if you would allow me the time, I'd like to read this into the record.
Absolutely. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning, all the Redenti. I think it's a good idea.
Go ahead and read it into the record. Thank you.
Chair, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, all the Redenti. I think it's a good idea to discontinue Peck Alley, to eliminate light, and to allow the adjacent property owners to take possession of the alley. Currently, the alley is unmaintained pavement, overgrown with weeds, littered with trash and debris, and a blight to the area. A portion of the alley between Maltby, the midpoint of the alley, was discontinued about 15 years ago. As a result, the remaining portion serves no purpose. The properties that abut the alley have driveway access and off-street parking. By discontinuing this alley, the city will no longer be responsible to maintain this area, clean up illegal dumping, and own the public liability associated with this area. The adjacent property owners can assert their claims to the discontinued alley, as has been done previously with many streets and rights of way that were discontinued in the city of New Haven. Thank you, Evan Trafton, Acquisition and Disposition Coordinator, Office of Economic Development.
For the record, we're gonna have you definitely make sure the office gets a copy of that.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Any other questions for committee members?
I have a question.
Alder.
Just want to commend you on taking this project on. I've been in that area plenty of times, and it's about time somebody does something about it. But I do have one question. So the blight that is there now, it's been there for a long time. Somebody just asked if the residents in that general area, other than the two existing homes that you said it would affect, have they been reached out to?
The ones in my ward, yeah. So my ward only goes up to a certain spot on Downing. I haven't coordinated with all the rest as far as going down past Clinton Avenue Park. But that was a major point in my campaign that came up on door knocking, was what am I going to do with these? Not just the corner of Downing and Lombard. I've got about a dozen spots in Fairhaven that are quote unquote sketchy. Spots that I wouldn't let my kids walk by when the sun goes down. You understand? So I'm just trying to make the neighborhood safer. And like I said to the gentleman that came here and presented, more walkable. Like, we have a number of churches in our neighborhoods, in my ward, I'm sorry. And a lot of grandmothers walk to church and back and forth to their house. I need to make sure that they're safe, that I have line of sights for my police department. So I have line of sights for neighbors to be able to see their loved ones walk up the street. And right now we have a lot of overgrowth, not just on city land, DOT as well. Trees growing through fences that completely obscure sidewalks. I mean, these are things that are paramount to me, so I want to make sure that I get them addressed as soon as I can, sir.
The reason why I said something about it is I do live, and I have to go drive down those alleys sometimes. Thank you.
Alderman Gay.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Welcome back. No, thank you for what you're doing out there in the neighborhood. Just as a point in reference to working with that other person, so things could just be, ran in conjunction with what you're trying to do.
Yes, sir.
You may want to reach out to that person. But I saved my comments for deliberation. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Gay. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone from the public wishing to testify on this item? and address for the record again? Thank you.
I'm Ray Cunningham, 300 College Street. Can I ask questions?
Germain to the topic.
That pertain
That pertain to the item we're speaking of, yes.
About I guess, there's mention of needles in the area, and I guess just like sketchiness in general, like generally describing it. What are your concerns about that behavior, I guess, continuing elsewhere if it won't happen here anymore?
So,
We're gonna have to clear. Oh, I'm sorry.
so the item in question is the alleyway. Let me ask, so we're discussing the alleyway over on Peck Street. I know that one of the alders of the area spoke on this, and he mentioned things that are happening that he may be seeing. Those items are not germane, unless like other comments, germane to the topic. I believe there are incidents that are taking place there. Right now, what we're discussing is cleaning it up and then discontinuing the alleyway. So,
Can I clarify my comment?
yes.
So I'm pretty sure I said that I assume that there's needles in there. I can't confirm that there's needles in there, but that property has been fenced off for near 2 decades. So you can only guess what's in there because nobody has maintained it for near 2 decades. It's been fenced in and closed off to the public. So mostly what you get is people drive by and throw stuff in there, or walk by and throw stuff in there. When dealing with a neighborhood like Fairhaven, we teach kids especially, when you're picking stuff up, not picking up with their hands, because you always assume something's in the pile. It's the same thing with properties. So that's why I said what I said.
And this area is separate from the alleyway.
It is the alleyway abuts the properties. So again, Fairhaven has these it's an old neighborhood. It has these old alleyways, Pep Alley, Limerick Street. There's only one that's an actual street that people live on. There might be one, I think, off of Bailey Street, there's another one that has one house. They used to be lived on years ago. They were people's rear driveway access. Over the years, people stopped using them because the city stopped maintaining them to the degree they needed to be. So they've been overgrown, they're inaccessible, and it's just a larger issue. So cleaning up this property is going to help, revitalize the neighborhood. It's just been an abandoned, blighted area for 20 years, so we want to try to get some movement on it so that we can put housing there.
And we're gonna stay germane to the topic. 1 second, Alder Edwards.
I just I wanted to just make a comment to Mr. Cunningham, if
Yes.
that's okay. Mr. Cunningham, I love your line of questioning, because it's not germane, but if you have other questions, that you want to ask us, I say stick around after this if the rest of your line of questioning is not germane to this, because we're not trying to ignore you, but we just want to wrap this up. But your line of questioning, I'm here for it if you want to do a side chat after, because we would love to still have a conversation with you.
Here.
Because what you're bringing up are important topics. So we don't want you to think we're being dismissive at all.
All right, thank you.
So we will definitely have conversations with you, but I'll let the chair. Thank you, Ms. Madam Chair.
Thank you. That's correct. If you don't mind, we'll continue and then again stay with us after we finish and wrap up, and we can try to assist you in answering more questions.
Okay,
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I think what Mr. Cunningham was asking, which is the name, is about Alder Redenti identifying problems on that parcel, and if that parcel is not discontinued, where all the problems are going to go. Is that where you were going with this? What's happening? So we're just pushing it out to next door, or that's what I think the question was.
So that's what I understood.
That is the question we understood. Alder Lincoln.
Thank you, Madam Chair. to enlighten you on some of it, Mr. Cunningham. What our order is trying to do is honestly open up, bring more light to this particular ward so they can see the activities that's happening. So as they move, right, because crime moves, but it's more visible to an actual crime so the police can do their job, right, so the police can be safer. So the actual thing that Alder Francadente is trying to do is open up the blight. As you open up the blight, we have something in the city called Light the Night, right? Right? Then we bring more cameras, we bring more lights, we bring more things around that we can try to keep the community safer. We all know, move it, it moves, it moves, it moves. But and a strategy around this is lighten it up, brighten it up, so our police force can do their job. Okay?
Yeah, thank you.
That's right.
Is that a little bit better?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Alderman Dente.
So let me just state for the record that there is no there's no mention of crime on this corner. This is a fenced-in corner that people throw their trash in. That's about it. Like, I have had no crime in this area in 20 years. I mean, remember where we're talking. We're talking 1 block from the bricks, from the island, from the projects. Okay, where I grew up, where my family was raised, used to be run by the crews. Like, I'm just talking about cleaning. I'm not talking about running crime out. There's no crime being run off this corner. There's only pockets of stuff in Fairhaven. People here talk about Fairhaven all the time as this place where there's crime running rampant. It's not true. I've lived in it 49 years in the same neighborhood. It's not true. This is a cleanup only. This is not a crime suppression movement. This is just to make my neighborhood look better. Thank you, Madam Chair, for the time.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public wishing to testify on this item? For a second time, is there anyone else in the public wishing to testify on this item? And for a third time, is there anyone wishing to testify on this item?
I make a motion to close the public portion.
Second. It's been moved in second. We are closing. All in favor? Aye. Any extensions? Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. The public portion is now closed.
To the chair, I would like to move the first item favorably.
Second.
The item has been moved in second. Discussion. Alderman Gay.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I support this, also becoming a parking lot. For me personally, it's the thing whereas, you gotta balance this out, as the, gentleman said, Mr. Cunningham said about parking lots compared to bike lanes and stuff like that, but you gotta have checks and balances around that, right? If we can give somebody the opportunity to work, right, to make an honest living, and we can figure out how to do bike lanes and whatnot, I think it would be great for our city. I hope the young man stay around because I would like to tell him to go to the traffic department and see what we're doing in the city of New Haven. Truly, I'm in favor of this. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Alder Edwards.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I too am in favor of this item. I think it's always a great thing when we have a business that comes into one of our communities and expands. This is one parking lot I would love to improve and approve. I said it wrong, I apologize. To approve, because of the simple nature. It's about employment. It's about a responsible employer. And we can't build anything else on it. So it's just a perfect storm. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, Arts Franks has always been a good neighbor, a good partner. The business since 2019 has reinvigorated the neighborhood and, like my esteemed colleague said, improved the neighborhood. And not only just by adding good paying jobs, but just making the neighborhood look better. And it's just the perfect match for this end of Blatchley Avenue, and saying that I would give it my full support.
Thank you, Alderman Murphy. Okay. Yeah. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any nays?
Madam Chair, I would like to move the second item favorably.
Second.
The item has been moved in second discussion. I call on Alderman Hay.
I don't know about this one. No, I think it's a great thing, what the order, is trying to do. You know, once again, it's about, you know, cleaning up the neighborhood, and, it looks like it's been blighted for 2 decades now. And I fully support what he's trying to do, with this particular project.
Alderman Dempsey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the goal is to discontinue Peck Alley with the hopes of eliminating blight and allowing the adjacent property owners to take possession of the alley. It also releases the city of any liability and improves the neighborhood in the process. So of course, I wholeheartedly support it.
Alderman Douglas, Vice Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My one concern, through the chair, there is an abutting alder to this property, to
No.
this property?
No,
Yes.
it's more than 2 blocks away. Yeah, my ward goes all the way up to Del Rio Drive, which is not even on that map there. Yeah, so that's the old Dover Drive.
In due respect, I would still reach out to the abutting alder.
We'll
to
talk
let them know
offline.
what's, exactly what the project is, what's going on.
Absolutely, and we can talk more offline.
Through the chair.
Thank you. Alderman Edwards.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Alderman Hickey, I think this is a great idea. I also believe that when neighbors are afforded the opportunity to purchase additional land that's on their property, it will, number one, increase their property value, and it will also give them the space to, want to do more in their communities. And I feel that block by block, when we see individuals, stepping up their property, beautifying their property, it will add some more value to the neighborhood. People will go by. They're not going to want to live. They're going to actually want to, continue taking care of their neighborhood. So I think it's a good idea. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Alderman Doyle. Yes. I do agree with my vice chair. I believe that in conversation, you did mention Alder Testament. I think that's where we're asking to have her perhaps have a discussion with her.
It has been discussed.
Okay, so,
I haven't gone door to door with them, is what I'm saying.
okay, so that's the clarification.
Yes,
You went door to door, but you didn't, okay.
In my ward.
In your ward,
Yes,
okay. Thank you for that clarification. Any other discussion on the item? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, appreciate it.